What's up, everybody? It's Pikel, and we know what the bracket looks like now. So let's give our final predictions for how this whole thing is going to play out. So there's some pretty good matchups. I'm a little upset by a few of them, just because I wish that other teams had a chance to make it to the finals. But let's just go through the individual matchups and see what we think. So top Esports against Fnatic. So we have 369 against Bwipo in the top lane. I think 369 is the better player. I think that both players have various play styles that they can bring to a team. The highs are very high and the lows are very low. I think at their peak, I think that 369 is the better player at his peak. But Bwipo brings some like macro type champions into the position, which are very interesting. I think that Fnatic will have some very interesting team compositions and pocket picks to try and create advantages against top esports. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw something like a Cho'Gath. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw just some champions that we haven't seen recently in the top lane, with the intention of changing how the game is going to go and just trying to make top esports uncomfortable. In the jungle, we have Karsa against Selfmade. I think almost everyone would probably say Karsa is the better jungler than Selfmade. But specifically in this meta, on this patch, with these champions being the most important champions, I think that the gap is very close between the two. I don't think that they're going to give up Graves very much to Fnatic, because every time that top esports is blue side, they would probably first pick it. And every time that they're red side, I think they would probably ban it. Or they would have some pick to go against it, but I think you're better off just banning it at this point. I think top esports learned their lesson against Gen.G when they tried the whole when they tried the whole just counter pick it. That didn't work out for them in the spring finals. Next up we have Knight and Nemesis. Not even close. I think Knight is going to steamroll this game. He's going to be the reason why top esports probably wins this very easily. Jackie Love and Yuyanjia against Reckless and Hylissang. I think that anyone who's expecting an explosive matchup in the bot lane is going to be disappointed, because even though Jackie Love and Reckless are both big names, neither of them are really the type of player that has consistently insane kill scores against good competition. I think that it's much more likely that Karsa, 369, or Knight gets a majority of the kills. This doesn't mean, like, for DraftKings, it doesn't mean that Jackie Love is going to be a bad play. It just means that the kill upside for the other players is probably higher. It'll be interesting to see how the AD carry champion pools kind of play out. Maybe this is another spot where Fnatic thinks that they can bring in some new picks to kind of make things difficult. But you have to advance top esports in this situation. Do I think that Fnatic can make it a close series? Yes. Do I think that they could win the series? The only way that Fnatic wins this series is if top esports completely messes up the Graves priority and is also blindsided by a few picks from Fnatic. So I think that Fnatic does have winning chances for the match. I think it's probably 5% or 10% where they have realistic chances of winning, and it comes down to, does top esports prioritize Graves correctly, and can Fnatic find some picks or counter picks that will fundamentally change how top esports is allowed to play the game. Next up, we have Suning and Gen.G. The chalk pick is Gen.G. Gen.G has looked very good for both splits. Kanavi is the best jungler in the world. I think that this matchup has a good chance to be where the world champion comes from. And the reason I say that is because if Suning is able to compete with Gen.G and get past Gen.G, it means that they're capable of beating top esports, because Gen.G has consistently fought top esports very hard. So it's obviously unlikely for Suning to be able to beat Gen.G and top esports. But if they get through this side of the bracket, I think that they could definitely win the World Championship because I think that Suning can play with all of these Korean teams. And, like, yeah, I think stylistically it's good for them. So at this point, let's go through the 3 lanes. So I think right now, most people consider Zoom to be a much better top laner than Bin. I don't think that's true. I think that Zoom is very good at his specific style of playing like the tank top laners, playing for the team, and helping to get Kanavi ahead. I think Bin has the higher upside in terms of playing carry champions. He carried a few games for Suning at the World Championship, which is very important to consider. And I think that there's going to be a lot of explosive. There will be a lot of explosive trades in the top lane, a lot of explosive 2v2s. So the question is really, are Zoom and Kanavi better than Bin and SFM? I think that is true. I think that they are. But it's mostly due to Kanavi. So that's what would scare me about this matchup. I think that SFM has played very well, plays well in this meta, but Kanavi is next level in a lot of ways. But I do think Suning has a legitimate chance at winning this matchup. Angel against Yagao. I'm not a huge fan of either of these mid laners. I think that they are outclassed by BDD, Chovy, and Knight at this stage in the competition. And Showmaker. So this game I don't think is going to be decided by the mid laners. And if it is, it's because their levels are close to one another. So it's not like they're the underdog in the matchup and have to outperform. I think most people would say Yagao is better than Angel right now. I think I agree with that. There are some champions that will be contested. There are some champions that they both play very well individually. Like, I think Yagao is... I think Zoe's one of his best champions. But I don't see the mid lane determining this. I think it'll most likely come down to jungle. In the bot lane, we have Huanfeng and we have Sword Art against Loken and Lumao. I think that Suning can win through the bot lane. There will be chances for Huanfeng to pick Draven, which is like his pocket pick, which is a lane dominant champion. They can just play through the bot lane, take the pressure off of top lane, take the pressure out of the mid lane, create some 4-man dives in the bot lane, try to snowball that into Dragon Control or Rift Herald, and I think that they have legitimate chances through the bot lane. So yeah, like I said, Gen.G is definitely the favorite. They deserve to be the favorite. They've had a better year overall than Suning. But there are real chances for Suning to win this matchup. I think that Suning's chances of winning this are better than Fnatic's chances of winning their match. So I would say Suning is probably a 2-to-1 dog. So 33%. That would put them at plus 200-ish. I think that the number is going to be... I think that the number will be closer than that. I think I looked at the line already, and it was like plus 135 to minus 185 for Gen.G. If that is the line, I would prefer to bet on Gen.G because I don't feel like I'm getting enough value on Suning. Just because, like I said, the most important part of this matchup is the jungle, and Gen.G has the jungle advantage. So in the semifinals in this bracket, I expect to see Top Esports against Gen.G. We've seen this matchup in the summer finals, MSI finals, spring finals, MSI finals, and the summer finals, right? So it's very fitting that at the World Championships we would get two of the best teams from China playing to get into the finals. I wish they could do something to keep it from being 3 Chinese teams on one side of the bracket. I know it's random, but that just seems so unfair. Like it doesn't do this year justice. It means that we're basically guaranteed a Chinese team in the finals, which is good, unless Fnatic can shock everyone. All right, so then we have Top Esports against JDG. If Top Esports and JDG play each other once again, I think that Top Esports will be the favorite going into the matchup. I think it would be like minus 130 to minus 110, or like minus 115 to plus 115, just some very close to 100 number where it's basically a pick'em. And for that reason, I think you're okay just taking Top Esports and advancing them to the finals. I think that JDG has proven they can compete with Top Esports. So I would be comfortable with either side of that matchup. At that point in the competition, if it's Top Esports against JDG, I'm not even looking at it as something to bet on. I'm just looking at it as something to watch and enjoy and appreciate, because it'll be incredible League of Legends once again, regardless of the outcome. Then we have Gen.G against G2. So we have we have Rascal against Wonder. That's basically a 50-50 in my mind. Doran played Rascal. I always get those two guys mixed up. Let's just make sure I'm not being an idiot right now. Yeah, Rascal. All right, so Rascal against Wonder. I think that it's relatively close. Wonder's wide champion pool is very good in this meta, because it allows his team to pick champions that fit a team composition as opposed to a meta champion. With Rascal, we just get generic meta picks for the most part, which is because Korea helped determine the top lane meta with China. In the jungle, we have Clid and Yonkos. I think Clid is definitely a better jungler than Yonkos in every way, in every single meta. I think that Gen.G's playstyle doesn't allow Clid to shine the same way that some of these other junglers are allowed to shine. But Clid, coming off of last year where he was with T1 sorely missed him this year. I think it was obvious. And I think that Clid will be able to create a large winning difference between these two teams. If they pressure the jungle matchup, I think that is going to be easy for Gen.G to win this matchup. In the mid lane, we have BDD against Caps. This is a very good matchup. This is a very close matchup. I think they're both very good mid laners. I don't expect the mid lane to be the reason why one of these teams wins. I think they'll go even in lane, and then they'll get to team fights, and then the teams fighting as a collective unit will determine who wins these matches. In the bot lane, we have Ruler and Life against Perks and Mickey. And I think this is where Gen.G has a gigantic advantage. Perks has not been himself for the past couple of months. Well, really this year. He hasn't played very well as an AD carry against high-level competition. And there are a lot of other things that went on for Perks this year. I think that he's done an amazing job at dealing with those things and still competing at a high level, but he's not at the Perks level. If he was playing at his absolute best, then he could compete with Ruler. But right now, I don't think that is in the range of outcomes. So I expect Gen.G to win this 3-1, probably. I think that a sweep is definitely possible for Gen.G. I think that 3-1 is more likely. And I think that 3-2 is kind of what the European faithful should be hoping for. If G2 wins, I think it would be 3-2. And I don't really expect G2 to win, if I'm being honest. I think that would be a huge ask. Damwon Gaming against DRX. Okay, so we have Noguri against Doran. Doran's had an okay championship, but Noguri is a better player overall. He has the much higher carry upside, which is going to create a lot of pressure in the drafts, because not only is Noguri a carry player, but he's a diverse carry player. He plays great AP champions. He plays very strong AD champions. He plays fighters. He plays things like Kennen. He can play Vladimir. He can play basically anything. So I would be very afraid of that matchup if I was DRX. In the jungle, Canyon has done a very good job this entire year. I think that people are really still underrating Piosik, which is kind of funny. I think that Piosik has done everything that's been asked of him at the World Championship, has performed at an incredibly high level, and I think that the difference between the two is closing. because as we get more information, it's easier to justify them being closer to one another. If we were just going off of summer split stats and results, then obviously, yeah, Canyon would be the quote-unquote better player. But I think Pyosik has that ceiling as well. So I do think that there's a slight edge to Canyon in that matchup, but if you told me that Pyosik carried 2 of these games, I wouldn't be surprised at all. In the mid lane, we have Chovy and Showmaker. I think that Showmaker is a flashier player. Chovy is the more consistent player in terms of like staying close. His job is to make mid lane go even, which is scary because if they do things like blind pick set first overall because they are fine flexing it into multiple positions, that would scare me because Showmaker could have some champions that just completely steamroll the mid lane matchup, which is going to create gigantic problems for the side lanes, open up the map, and then make it difficult for DRX to contest the neutral objectives. So I think that in terms of skill, I think that they're much closer to even than people want to admit. But in terms of what side of the fight they're on, the aggressor and the passive side, I think that the aggressive side is the better side to be on in this meta, and I think for that reason, Damwon does have an advantage in the mid lane because of the likely matchups that we get. So they will probably have mid lane pressure, which will give Canyon more space to breathe in the jungle. In the bot lane, we have Ghost and Beryl against Deft and Keria. I think that this is 100% the way that DRX can win this matchup. I think that Keria, in order for DRX to beat Damwon Gaming, Keria needs to have the series of a lifetime, which will become the new normal for Keria. If DRX is able to beat Damwon Gaming, then that's exactly what needs to happen. They need to go even in mid lane, take advantage of Showmaker's aggressiveness, get them into matchups where you're taking on all of this pressure. Then you have Keria come in for a roam with the jungler at the same time and create an advantage that way. That is a little bit predictable, and Damwon doesn't have to fall into that trap. But for someone like Showmaker, who is this flashy player, aggressive player, I think that it is possible for them to fall into that trap. Ghost and Beryl, I think that personally, I would like to see them be playing things like Senna Pantheon, but Pantheon is going to be a very contested pick in this matchup because Keria also has a very good Pantheon. It's interesting because DRX and Damwon Gaming in the support and jungle roles are very similar in terms of their champion pools. They both like to play Nidalee, they both like to play Pantheon. And we've seen these amazing games from both of them on those respective champions. So it'll be a very fun draft to watch because a lot of these champions are going to be on each side of the matchup at one point or another, or they could be banned for every single game, which would kind of be disappointing. But at least at that point, we'd see a more diverse champion pool. So I mean, the chalk answer is Damwon Gaming, but I think that DRX has real chances to win this matchup. So if I was ranking the underdogs, I think that the best underdog, I think DRX might be the best underdog in these matchups. And the reason I say that is like relative to people's expectations. So when let me check to see if I can find let me see if the money lines are out. Okay, so top esports against Fnatic. Fnatic is plus 500. Suning is plus 137. G2 is minus 120. So I don't think that G2 is a 50-50 against Gen.G. So I think that line is off. I'd prefer to be on the Gen.G side. In terms of Suning against JDG, it's plus 137. I think it needs to be higher than that to justify a bet. So if that number gets up to like it really needs to get up to close to 200. Like, I think that Suning does have real ways to win the matchup, but like, I will get so much satisfaction out of Suning winning that I don't even need to make that bet, you know? If anything, I would bet on them to like win the championship at this point. I would need to find that number though. Top Esports against Fnatic, they're basically saying it's a done deal. And then Damwon Gaming against DRX is not being listed right now. I'm not sure why. Okay, so Gen.G against... Okay, I was talking about underdogs, though. So in terms of the underdogs, I think that it should be... I think that DRX is the best underdog because even though I think they should be the underdog, I think it's probably like 60-40. And I think when the line is released, it'll be closer to... I think it should be 60-40. I think that it will be them at like plus 180. Because people love the flashiness of Damwon Gaming. Damwon has looked dominant, and that's not DRX's playstyle. So if you're judging them with the same criteria, you're going to say that Damwon Gaming is a better team. But DRX with their playstyle, I think stylistically can match up good against Damwon Gaming. So DRX is the best underdog. Then Suning is the second best underdog. Relative to expectations and like public perception. Third would be G2, and Fnatic would be last. I really don't see Fnatic getting out. I really don't see G2 getting out either, but maybe I'm biased against Europe. It's very possible. I just don't think that I can see G2 beating Gen.G consistently in this series. And they've pulled off surprises before. But in order for that to happen, Perks would really need to play at a level that we haven't seen him play in months. So that's concerning. Okay, so then if we have Top Esports against JDG, Gen.G against Damwon. If it's Top Esports against JDG, like I said, I think you just put Top Esports through. That would be a great matchup. I'd love to watch it. If we get Gen.G against Damwon Gaming, I think that Damwon stylistically probably matches up better against Gen.G than they do against DRX, because I think Gen.G is... Actually, they're kind of similar. I feel like the way that Damwon has played in like their domestic league has caused Gen.G and DRX to kind of play the 50-50 in the mid lane, where you're just trying to go even and then win the game somewhere else. Like, try to keep the kill score down. But I guess G2 against Damwon. I think in order for them to win, Ruler would have to carry the game. So it'd be Ruler against Showmaker. I could see it happening, but I think that there's no reason to deviate from the chalk. A Damwon Gaming Top Esports Finals is probably what everyone wants to watch. It would be the flashiest matchup. It'd be the highest kill score matchup. It would probably be the most entertaining to watch for the common fan. So that's basically how I think it's going to go. Or that's how it's most likely going to go. I'll make a bracket in the pick'em thing with some upsets because it's more fun that way. But if I had to bet on all of these things, I need to check the lines to see what kind of value I'm getting on all of them once we get to Thursday, which is when all these matches are going to start. Not all of them, when the matches start. But that's it. So thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you later.